To be mostly sunny and beautiful with the high of 80. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com.
This hourly segment is brought to you by Goldilocks, offering smart security systems to homes and businesses. Call Goldilocks at 708-889-5600.
Now, from The Signature, a division of Esquire Bank Studios. This is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft on AM 560. The Answer.
All right, welcome back. It's Jeannie and Jim in for Dan this morning. Well, apparently, according to the Wall Street Journal, there's high anxiety in the bond market. They're sitting here in the second paragraph. The 30-year U.S. Treasury yield on Tuesday touched 5.339%, its highest since 2007. The 10 years at about 4.7%. The benchmark French 10 years at 4.1%. The 10-year German Bund is at 3.2%. This is all just a bunch of numbers. Okay, we both studied economics. Obviously, you at U of I, me at West Point, so yours is far more legitimate than mine. And you told me you're going to make sense out of all this.
Yes, I'm going to make sense of all this. And people who are listening to this think, what do I care? How does that affect me? Well, it affects you in a huge way. If the bond market, the yields going higher, is indicative of the world starting to not want to lend the United States government money because they think we're spending like drunken sailors, which we are, and that's why bond yields are going higher, then the problem could get much worse. 2 weeks ago, and we're going to talk to Stephen about this too. 2 weeks ago on the 5th, the United States came into the currency markets to intervene to buy the Japanese yen. That means nothing to us, right? Yes, of course it means something to us, because what they're doing is saying to Japan, we don't want you selling your bond reserves, because they have a lot of U.S. treasuries, because we don't think the market can handle it. This is a big deal if the market can't handle bond supply and our spending habits. So I hope people understand it, because it doesn't affect you until it does, and when it does affect you, it could be in a big way.
Yeah, well, it's a lot of things in the economy. A lot of people don't understand how things really work
until they get slapped in the face by it. Right.
Well, somebody who does is Stephen Moore. He's the economist and co-founder of Unleashed Prosperity, and this whole segment is brought to you by Home State Bank. Consider Home State Bank as an impartial trustee to your estate and spare your family from conflict and disagreements. Talk to a Home State Bank trust officer today at 815-459-2000. Again, 815-459-2000. But now we bring on Stephen Moore to also make sense out of what's happening in the bond market for us. Stephen, thanks so much for joining us.
Well, good morning, guys. And by the way, Jim, you just insulted drunken sailors, because even they don't spend like Congress does.
No doubt.
But look, you're right to raise the alarms on this. It is disturbing. We've seen an increase in these interest rates that keep going up and up and up. And obviously, when interest rates go up, that means mortgage rates go up. That means the cost of consumer credit goes up. Credit card interest rates go up. So it's bad for the economy, no question about it. It's a disturbing trend. It is, you are quite correct, my friend, that a lot of this is being driven by the runaway spending in Washington. And by the way, it's both parties are responsible for this. Neither, Republicans are voting on a big new defense increase in spending, which, I'm not a big fan of that, but if you're going to spend more money on defense, shouldn't you spend less on other things?
Yes.
What happened to pay as you go budgeting?
Seems logical.
And so we got a budget that is out of control, and we're paying a price for it. But overall, I'm still pretty bullish on this U.S. economy. We're seeing a huge investment boom in the country.
No, and I think there's three elements, and you and I have been cheerleaders from this since the beginning, because we believe in the tax cuts. We believe in the business expensing. We believe in the regulatory hurdles being knocked down. And like you just said, foreign direct investment is going higher. So maybe one of the reasons they're not buying U.S. bonds, and I think it's down the list, is that the economy is going good and you'd rather invest in other things, probably AI. But when we did this, when we did the things supporting the yen, you know how I trade, because we both look at the macro, and you know exactly what I did. I bought gold and silver on that day, because if the Treasury's worried about the bond market, then we should be worried about the bond market too. But to your point, I think things are going great, and I think foreign direct investment is big. But the question becomes when will the increased economic activity start bringing deficits down, and do we need to within the next 6-8 months?
Yeah, I mean, look, and you need economic growth to bring the deficit. You need two things. You need economic growth, and you need to tame spending and bring the rate of growth
What does that
down.
even mean, tame spending? Neither party understands that concept,
Yeah,
do they?
exactly. So that's the hard part. I mean, we're doing the first part. I mean, we've got a strong economy. We are by far the strongest economy in the world. Every other country in the world would gladly trade places with the United States right now, despite the fact that it is true grocery prices are higher. So, look, my feeling about this is that, when I graduated from University of Illinois
ILL.
back in 1982 or 83, I mean, the inflation rate back then was like 11%, and mortgage interest rates were like 18% or something like that. So, things can get bad quickly, but I'm still pretty bullish on where the country is headed, except that the one obstacle is these buffoons in Congress will not cut government spending, and they spend more and more and more. They keep coming up with new programs. We already know, by the way, have been exposed already this year. Nearly $1 trillion. $1 trillion. That's one with 12 zeros of fraud. And Jeannie, they do nothing about it.
You're saying that Somalian learning centers don't need money in Minnesota?
Exactly.
How dare you? How dare you?
Yeah. I mean, by the way, what's the fellow who exposed all this?
Nick
Shirley.
Shirley.
Nick Shirley.
The left treats him like he's the villain.
He's the problem.
How dare you expose the fact that we're stealing money from taxpayers, billions and billions of dollars.
Yep.
Nick Shirley is a villain. He should never have asked, hey, does this Somalian daycare center actually have any children that's getting $5 million a year? Oh, where are the kids? There aren't any kids.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, but he's one of the good guys.
By the way, about the culture of Washington, that it's the whistleblower that's the problem, not the people who are cheating and stealing.
Actually, he's a breath of fresh air, though, when it comes to his age group, because Emil Barr, writing in the Wall Street Journal, he says that in a 2025 survey of young likely voters, 42% of conservatives said that they would like to see a Democratic socialist win the presidency in 2028.
What?
Yeah, this is just out, Wall Street Journal.
Oh, my God.
Now, this Emil Barr, he's this young guy, immigrated from Russia when he was age 3, graduated from Miami University of Ohio, and then he's worth I think $1 billion now or something, because he started these Flash Pass, and he's the founder of Step Up Social. So he's in this writing about how these conservatives even want a bailout, it sounds like. They want to spend like drunken sailors, too. He says, he notes that ask young Americans whether they want universal health care, free college, cheaper housing, or more government assistance, and you will find plenty of support. But when you ask who should pay for it, suddenly the revolutionaries do get quieter, he says. But look, they're looking... What's wrong with this generation that they don't actually understand what America's all about, which is property rights, and you make your own way and you work hard?
Yeah, it's an extremely disturbing thing. Yep. I believe right now, my best guess is, and I'm pretty good at this politics game, I've been doing it a long time, I believe AOC will be the Democratic nominee for president. She's crazy. She's a lunatic, but she's pretty and she's well spoken, and so we may be seeing a Democrat socialist at the top of the Democratic ticket. By the way, there was a race, I think it was in Florida, yesterday, that where another one of these crackpot socialists won a race. So
this Angie Nixon, she's the Democrat nominee for the U.S. Senate in Florida, and she is a whack job.
Well, these are the people. Look, you don't have to believe what we're saying, folks. Just read their platform. Their platform is get rid of the Supreme Court, get rid of the United States Senate, get rid of the border control people, open up the prisons. It's going to be wonderful. It's going to be a great, and by the way, raise taxes, way up. What is the term they use? Tax the hell out of the rich people. That really worked. And so what's so disturbing about this is that, when I give lectures sometimes on college campuses, I don't do it as often as I used to, but I talk about the virtues of free market capitalism versus the poverty and the despair that is created by socialism. And that's the whole lesson, right, of the 20th century, is that socialism is a failure and free market capitalism is a success. But what struck me, Jeannie, was when I'd be done with my lecture about, why socialism doesn't work, the people who would come up to me after the lecture were people who came from, say, Vietnam, or people who came from Cuba, or people who came from Hungary or Poland or Russia. And they'd come up to me and they were so puzzled. They say, I came to this country for freedom, to get away from socialism. And now I get here and these crazy kids at Harvard, Yale, and Princeton are saying we need more socialism. So what's really disturbing about this, by the way, is it turns out the more college education these kids have, the more socialist they get.
Yeah, but there's one other element of it, too, that I think all of us were missing and just kind of dawned on me recently, is that if your attitude is burn it all down, which it seems like quite a few people are, which it is, then AOC being absolutely ridiculous candidate. To call her a ridiculous candidate is actually giving her like 3 or 4 promotions. She's beyond ridiculous. But that actually might make her more attractive to the burn it all down people. And I'm not even joking. Like, I think that Governor Pritzker and Mayor Johnson in Chicago and Illinois, I think they're intentionally trying to destroy our economy because they want federal handouts at some point in time. But if your job is to burn it down, back to AOC, like that's a feature, not a bug in her character, right?
But burn down the village to revisit it, to rebuild it. It's a scary concept. Yeah, it is. Most of these people have never experienced socialism, and they've never experienced communism. Incidentally, while we're on this subject, we had something in our hotline about this yesterday. The DSA, the Democrat Socialists of America, they actually celebrated. I swear to God, folks, I promise, I've got my hand on a Bible. I'm not making this up. They celebrated the, quote, liberator Fidel Castro.
Yeah.
A guy who murdered hundreds of thousands of people, turned Cuba into, one of the poorest countries in the world. People are basically desperately poor. The poverty rate is like 80% today in Cuba, and they're celebrating this guy.
Burn it all down.
I mean, what's next? Are they going to celebrate Stalin, Hitler? I mean, these are people who they get in power, and of course, power corrupts, and they become completely corrupt. So the idea that these are the people going to run our country, that's scary, folks.
Heck yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, back to this Emil Barr and his Wall Street Journal editorial or op-ed that they wrote. He says, my mother brought me to America from Russia when I was 3 because she believed that her son would have more opportunity here. Well, he's right about that. And then he built this success. He negotiated his way through free college. Good. His personal net worth is now $20 million, all before turning 23. And I didn't do it because the government handed me a check, because America gave me room to try. He says, well, here's the deal, though. Flash Pass, Step Up Social, okay, granted, you're worth $20 million. You built something that people, I guess, like. You think you created value. I want hard value. I want a manufacturing value. And, that to me is far more important than all this social media stuff.
Well, you talk about an industrial future for the country. We do need to be building things today. You know what we need to be building in the United States? Data centers. And yet there's a huge backlash against basically the engines of the future. We're facing some crazy ideas out there. By the way, some of my conservative friends are against data centers too, and I don't think they should build data centers where they're not wanted. But my gosh, we need to double or triple the number of data centers we have, or else the internet goes down. You don't get to be able to use your cell phone. You're not going to have a GPS system. Our radar systems to protect our country are going to go down. So we need to get ready for this stuff. But it's almost like these people are so subversive. I mean, you said it well. They want to burn down the village and rebuild it. Well, I like the village pretty much the way it is.
Yep. And I don't want to go through the transition of the burn.
I'll be honest, all 3 of my kids, my 3 oldest are 35 and under. They all own their own homes. One owns 2 properties. There's a way you can do this. It's ridiculous. You don't need to burn it down.
Jeannie, what these young people have to do? Because you're right. This is a real new orthodoxy of people under the age of 35. You know what people under the age of 35 are not doing? They're not getting married.
Yeah,
and they're not having kids.
Change. Yeah.
Come on, get with it. I think this really is a socioeconomic thing where, you've got a bunch of singles out there that are 28, 29, not making families, not making babies, and then they're embracing people like Fidel Castro. It's the craziest thing I ever saw.
It's nuts.
It's totally nuts.
Well, we could talk all morning with Steve Moore, but we can't. We got to let him go. So our conversation again with Steve Moore is brought to you by Home State Bank. Consider Home State Bank as an impartial trustee to your estate and spare your family from conflict and disagreements. Talk to a Home State Bank trust officer today at 815-459-2000. Again, 815-459-2000. Steve, thank you so much for joining us on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Okay, guys, have a great day.
See you, Steve.
This is Chicago's Morning Answer.
Your show keeps me alive during the week. There's nobody I'd rather listen to between 5 and 9 in the morning than you guys.
On AM 560, The Answer.
Here's the deal. The government is over $38 trillion in debt, which means the IRS isn't slowing down. And the tax code is complex and unforgiving. So it's not surprising if you're one of the millions